Best.Podcast.Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
What I would say, if you're an entrepreneur and you're out there, or you're just a person who's thinking about starting a business, know who your customer is. Because at the end of the day, someone has to buy your product.
Gertzberg.
Hi, Molly Gebler.
How's it going?
Fantastically.
Oh, that's so awesome.
How's it going with you?
You know what? Living the dream. You know who else is living the dream? Alex Gertzberg. And I'm just going to put it out here and right now.
Well, can I guess first?
Well, no, because
Okay.
I want to say that our podcast, the best podcast ever, I feel, has made an impact. And Christian Siriano heard us, in my way of thinking, and has hired my baby girl.
So I'm going to guess it's Emily Gebler.
And that's my baby girl.
And I don't think there's any guessing. I think Christian Siriano for sure heard this podcast.
For sure.
And he'd be foolish not to have, because we are, in fact, the best podcast ever.
True.
You know,
that.
Molly.
And he's welcome to call in and be one of our guests.
Well, really, Christian, you need to be on this podcast. Anyone who's anyone, including your incredible assistant, has been on this podcast.
Yes, she has.
You know?
Yes, she has. I just have to say, he truly is just a very kind and not the devil wears Prada type of experience that Emily's having, for sure. But it's a whirlwind, and she's living the dream. And she graduated, I don't even remember when, 3 weeks ago. And I think 4 days after, she was in a car. We were in a car on our way to New York City.
Emily Gebler, I am proud of you.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Living the.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to find her a place. So if anybody's listening and is subleasing their place in New York, Brooklyn, Harlem, since I know our podcast is so powerful now, I'm just going to start using it for these things.
Yeah. It's interesting, Molly, because I feel like our weekly dates here on Mondays, you and me, I feel like the saga of the Gebler family has really unfolded nicely here. And honestly, I'm only half joking.
It's a good ending.
No.
Actually,
Look at all the things that we have been following in the Gebler household saga, right? We followed the adventures of
I don't know if you want to call it a saga.
Why not? Well,
is that a bad word? Like
negative connotation?
Yeah. Like, can we call it the series, the Gebler series, the Gebler journey, maybe?
I'm going to stick with saga on this one. We followed the adventures of the twins.
Yes.
We followed the adventures of the writing of the book, the publishing of the book.
Yeah, I think the documentary, we journeyed through
documentary.
that, didn't
we followed the adventures of Emily looking for a job, landing a job, then landing a permanent job, right? Graduating from college. Lots of life events have happened here on this very podcast.
So if we could find her an apartment, that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be.
This has been like one long Gebler reality show.
Although I will say it would be an hour a week wouldn't be enough of a show. You would want to just follow me 24/7 or none at all, because you just would be like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Yeah.
This is all the reality I need, Molly.
Yes, that is true.
Tiffany has been watching The Bachelor, or no, it's The Bachelorette.
Okay.
Right? And literally, whenever I walk through the room and that show is on, I feel myself get stupider.
That's what you always say about the Kardashians, baby. I think you said.
No,
that.
I think I've said that. Well,
But
I think I've said
what?
that about most reality shows.
Yeah, I
actually.
think the Housewives. I
The
think the
Housewives is
yeah.
definitely. I feel I get stupider.
Is that a word, stupider?
It is now.
Well, just a twin update. They're doing great
Oh, good.
for 3.5 months.
Well, you're here, so they must
yes,
be.
yes.
We
yes.
haven't. Are you on airplane mode? Is there a chance that you might?
I
get
am
called?
on
Okay,
airplane
good.
mode.
Good.
Yes.
They're gonna have to make do
They
for
have
the
to
next
call the
couple
Gertzberg
hours.
Law Firm if
Yeah,
you
right.
need me.
Right.
So what's up with you now that we've and the book's still for sale, everybody. I'm just gonna throw it out there. A piece of Molly's mind.com.
Yeah. We all. I hope that we have a permanent link to that website on the
That would be great.
Best.Podcast.Ever.com.
That would be great because more are coming. They
Yeah.
are being
Yeah.
sketched as we speak.
The first of a series has dropped.
And we're only printing the one time.
limited
so,
series.
Yeah,
Limited
we're
printing.
about halfway done. So
awesome.
might want to get your book. Yeah. So what about you?
I've had lots of adventures.
What's the latest? Tell.
So since last we were here, have we talked about Nashville?
I don't believe so.
Man,
What,
Nashville-
you've been to Nashville?
I went to Nashville a
Right.
week ago.
Wow.
For a week.
No.
with my gal, and we had the most amazing time. That is now one of my favorite cities on the planet. Have you ever
A
been?
week ago. I'm wondering if you went the same time Jessica went.
I
You
don't
may
know,
have been.
but
How funny is that?
I'm guessing both Jessica and I were way too hazy-eyed to find or see each other.
I have been when I was very, very young, but not recently.
Oh my God, it is such a great city. So this was my birthday trip. So you know what Tiffany loves to do? This is one of the reasons I love her. She likes making big deals out of, things like birthdays, whereas I like to forget them.
Did I even wish you a happy birthday?
Yeah. Well,
I
actually,
send-
now I don't know.
Did I send you a bit emoji or something? Sure.
Probably. Yeah, I'm sure you did. You're good like that.
That would be horrible.
No, I'm sure you did. So I couldn't. So Tiffany wanted to go on a trip somewhere, and I couldn't go that week. So she made all the arrangements, and we settled on Nashville. And you know what we did? We jumped off a mountain with parachutes attached to us. Yeah, we went
did.
paragliding in Chattanooga
Oh,
off of Lookout Mountain.
Oh.
It was amazing.
Oh my God.
You would hate it, of course, but
Probably.
yeah, we flew through the air for a half hour. Right.
Wow.
There's a part of Lookout Mountain, and depending on the time of day that you go, the updraft, the currents, right? Basically the air there gets hot throughout the day, and then by the afternoon it's surging upward, and it keeps you afloat. So you're gliding and flying around. It was just unbelievable. So we did that, and then we went.
Did you get any pictures when you were up there?
No, not when we were up there.
Right. Are you
Yeah.
allowed to? Or
You could have bought the deluxe package. I just wanted to go flying. I didn't need any of that, any of the bells and whistles. We took pictures while we were at the top of the mountain. So we'll post, and I'll show you the ones that from the view. But it was just unbelievable. And then Chattanooga is a really cool town, and we went hiking through this Native American ceremonial ground called Old Stone Fort, which was a really crazy experience. Beautiful, and apparently it's a 2,000-year-old Native American place where they held these really strange, or I don't know, ceremonies, I guess. So we hiked around there and saw some really cool stuff there. And then so the other thing that Tiffany and I like to do is we like to pop into random small towns in between the towns that we're going to and from.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Murfreesboro.
Okay.
Murfreesboro, which is a cool town in Tennessee, and Manchester, which is where that Old Stone Fort is, and also where Bonnaroo is held each year. In case you ever want to go to Bonnaroo, Molly.
Yes. And what is Bonnaroo?
It's this big music festival.
Oh, got you. Speaking
Yeah,
of,
we'll be. Let's make sure we talk about that in a
Yes,
second.
for sure.
That's a big deal. And then Nashville is So the main drag in Nashville is called Broadway, and it is just back-to-back bars next to each other and stacked on top of each other, each of which has live music playing almost 24/7. The greatest bars and the greatest live acts, and they're playing
commercialized. Like, do you feel that's what I've heard from people that it's very busy,
very busy. It's like
crowded.
It's like Vegas, but with live music and with like a rock and slightly Western tilt.
Okay.
Right, lots of lights, lots of people. Commercial, I don't know. I mean, certainly that drag is busy, and well, like Kid Rock has his own bar there, and then 3 or 4 other bars, like Dirks Bentley or Dirks. Yeah. What's that dude's name?
You're
Dirks,
right. Something like that.
Dirks something.
Yeah. Now, and
he's got his own bar.
That like you could be at a bar and Sheryl Crow could come up and
yeah, and
like,
the thing is, all the bars, so they all have their windows open.
Did you go to the Bird Cage? There's one very famous bar in Nashville, the Bird Cage, I believe it's called.
So I think what you're thinking of is a very famous gay bar in South Beach called the Bird Cage.
No. Well, you don't have your computer. No, it's.
I didn't see that.
Very, very famous in Nashville.
Yeah,
tons of people kind of got their start at this particular bar.
I know that a lot of very famous musicians got starts on that drag because the way it's set up is there's no cover charge. Everyone plays round the clock for free because they hope to get discovered there. And the acts were amazing, just absolutely amazing. 2-3 levels, stories of live music all blaring into the street at the same time. It was so cool.
So speaking of music, Alex Kurtzberg,
this is a big deal.
I am telling you. I mean, you see the bags under my eyes from planning an entire. Not only do we have the Simple Summer Nights concert series that the Kurtzberg Law Firm sponsors,
right,
which is Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. Thursday nights here in Chagrin Falls in the Triangle, starting this Thursday. Starting this Thursday, June.
When
whatever.
people are hearing this now, it will already be happening.
Yes,
and it will be
we'll
happening.
Put the schedule up. For
it
everybody.
Will be happening all summer long for free.
I work very, 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 very hard to make sure that we book it with amazing.
You have great bands.
Talent. Then Tuesday nights, it's anywhere. It could be anywhere in the Chagrin Valley. I mean, we know where it is. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And then Sundays, we have Pinecrest now. Every Sunday from 3 to 5, we've partnered with they were so impressed with our series here that they called on us and said, we would like to sponsor a whole Sunday. So it's the Simple Sunday concert series. Sponsored by Pinecrest. So they're every Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So we are very, 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 very busy at the chamber office.
See, I did not notice the bags under your eyes, Molly.
Yes. I thought
you came in here looking fetching.
Thank you. Yes, that and then the golf outing. It's been we are jamming at the chamber office.
So let's do a quick recap here. So folks need to go to cvcc.org.
Yeah, the schedule is right when you come on.
Here's the bottom line, folks. Whatever plans you have for Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, or Sunday nights, either cancel them or include in those plans a stop by one of the concerts happening on one of those nights.
I mean, as well as I do because we participate in them. I am telling you, there is nothing like it. There's nothing like it. You bring a lawn chair, you pick up a pizza, or you go out to dinner beforehand, and then you just sit and I'm talking, we have amazing acts. This is not
Molly, I would not have sponsored this thing for
three. This is the third year. Fourth year.
This is the fourth year I'll be sponsoring the entire summer series. Not one concert, the entire summer. Unless, and you know how I feel about music.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This is, we bring the best bands to town for the listening pleasure of our citizens.
Yeah, I feel like I've become almost a booker. Like I need a 10%, I think.
Promoter.
Yeah.
Interesting. 10% of free?
Well, no, what the bands,
Oh.
a booker
Yeah.
gets 10% when they book a band. So I think the chamber needs to pay me 10%.
I think you should go with promoter because you don't read books.
Promoter. A book.
You only write them.
Good
No,
point.
this is
Good
this
point.
is
Yeah, it's a
this
must.
Is,
It's a must, and it's free.
This is one of the signature
Yes.
things that the chamber does,
And
Molly.
family friendly too.
Very family
That's a big one. We have the princesses coming. You don't even know that. I like to keep a lot of things secret from Alex. But before the Pop-Tarts, we have the princesses coming doing a sing-along. We have in Bainbridge, we have a pre-show, which is like a Bainbridge. They're guys from Bainbridge, teenagers. They're going to open
Ooh, is
the
that right?
concert. Yeah, Zook Rejects, I believe, or Crew Rejects, or something
Zook
like.
Crew Rejects?
Yes.
Yeah,
that is they.
They're from Kenston.
They're
yeah.
gonna open
Yeah,
up.
They're amazing. They won like a battle
Yes,
of the bands.
yes, yeah.
Wow, Molly,
so they're
I
the
didn't know
opening
that.
act, and so yeah, we're
All right,
big
let's,
time.
Let's,
It's a must.
Here's what we'll. Would you? Is it fair to say, Molly, that if folks are listening to this podcast and despite our hyping it up, still don't show up, then they are just like
Losers.
I'm
I
putting
mean,
an L up on my. You don't want to be a
here's
loser.
the thing: we'll have fun,
We will have fun.
and 400 of our closest friends, because that's about what we see at the concert.
It is
so.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we just had Elvis at Pinecrest. Was
the original, like the one that
Well,
died
yes.
and came back to life.
Yes, yeah. This week is Bob Seger. I know that will have already been, but this Thursday is a Bob Seger.
Oh, cover band.
Yeah.
I thought not the Bob Seger.
Oh gosh, wouldn't that be great?
That would be cool.
So Alex, I must say, I have, because of the twins and my whole Gebler sagas that goes on a daily basis, you have worked very, very hard to work on our guest pool, and with no help from me. So, I come into these on Monday about noon. I get an email from Nellie, kind of sharing the information about our guest. And, I enjoy all our guests. But when I opened this one, and I appreciate Nellie giving me a video instead of me reading things, which I clicked on and watched right away. But so excited about our guest.
Todd Goldstein definitely meets the criteria we set here for impact. This dude impacts a lot of people, not just the entrepreneurs who are members of LaunchHouse, which we'll talk about in a second, and of which Todd is the CEO and co-founder, but obviously all of the ripple effect from them, right? So LaunchHouse is Todd calls it the community of entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, and they have these locations where people share space for their businesses. So instead of like the firm here has this big space where we pay rent to someone, and there's permanent offices and conference rooms, Todd has created these shared spaces where you can pay different kinds of rent depending on whether you want an office or you want just a desk, and you can use a conference room or not. And they have all of these resources that they share with each other, and they rely on each other, and they have buying power together. And I've been there, I've given talks there, and there is an energy, there's an electricity there just by being in a room. You go every day to work with startups, with founders, with entrepreneurs, and you war game and you strategize together and you grow together, and it's a really cool thing. And Todd created this out of nothing, and I forget if it's 100 or hundreds, but there's a lot of businesses that rely on Todd and on LaunchHouse to grow.
It's the same thing that we talk about, how it's not just what they're doing right then, it's what they end up doing, and then what that ends up creating or putting out into the world that he's,
Right. Todd helps them find money. He helps them solve problems. And they end up having employees who have families, who pay taxes, who grow with, from what started out as just an idea at LaunchHouse to a full-fledged company. So that's what I mean by the ripple effect. And that's what I meant by impact. So when I asked Todd to join us, I was definitely channeling my inner Molly in thinking, this dude is definitely an easy podcast, qualifying guest. So let's bring him on.
All right, let's do it.
Todd Goldstein.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me,
us.
guys.
Thanks for coming.
Todd, we have a crack research staff here. Her name is Nellie. You know Nellie. You went to school with Nellie. Rush High School, class of 99.
Okay.
Your class of 2000.
And she grew up in Lyndhurst, right?
She did.
Okay.
And
Nellie.
She's Alex's sister.
She's my sister. She's our crack research department.
Did you grow up in Lyndhurst too?
Yeah, we talked about this. Remember?
Over
Yeah.
lunch.
We missed each other
By
at
a
Brush.
couple years.
Yeah. Oh, but as an aside, well, it's not really an aside because it's our crack research staff discovered this. You and I were both 40 under 40 at Cranes.
Same year?
No, you were 2011. I was 2012.
Okay.
Which is weird because I'm older than you by 6 years.
Okay.
But apparently in 2011 and 2012, we were both under 40.
So I think I was...
What is it?
I was
7
not.
years ago.
Yeah, 7 years
right?
ago.
Yeah, Molly, you were never
I
a
just
40 under 40.
missed it by 1 year.
Yeah.
Just by 1 year.
So I think I was just 30.
You were just 30. Wow. So you almost qualified for the 30 under 30.
I don't think they had it at the time, but I really don't remember.
Do they have it? I think they have it now. Actually.
They do.
Yeah. I just, I think now they have don't they have something for 80-year-olds?
Yeah, I saw
Cranes
that.
now?
It was, who was it? It was Albert Ratner was there and a couple, I think it was Albert Ratner, but it was a bunch of the Alta Cockers that are still hanging around.
Well, wait. 80 under 80, doesn't that...
No, I think it's 8.
I was going to say, is that everybody?
I think it's 8 over 80 or something like that. But the thing of it is, it seems like look, Cranes, you guys know what you're doing, but it seems like you're taking the whole age decade thing a little too far, right? 30s I get, 40s I get.
You're impressed that you made it and you're bringing it up here. So
I was
they
very
got
thankful for Cranes. And, hey, 80 over 80, I'm sure there's not, think about it, right? How many people in this day and age can still be 80 and still be out there doing a lot of successful stuff? So you got to give those guys some
Hashtag goals,
credit.
boys. Get that on your goals list.
The thing to do is to keep working in your 80s and you'll live longer. There's a lot of science behind that.
Well, I don't want it to come I don't want to peak this early in Cranes. So Cranes, if you're considering me, I want to peak it. Yeah. I want to wait till the 80s.
Let's table Molly for a good 40 years.
Yes, please.
Todd, listen, LaunchHouse is brilliant. And Molly and I were just talking behind your back about how there is this inherent ripple effect based on what happens there to the entrepreneurs there, to the eventual employees they have, to the families of those employees, to the other business partners that they bring on. And that's something that I don't know if you anticipated when you started LaunchHouse, but you must, I want to know how you see that ripple effect playing out. And B, I want to go back to whether you anticipated it.
So those are two, good points or good questions. So I think when we started LaunchHouse, the whole idea was to really build a community, and we weren't really sure what that meant, but we recognized that in other parts of the country, a lot of people were coming together, whether they're starting a business or growing a business, to be together in one central place around programming and community, and it's kind of all the things that go into starting a business. And it's really tough when you start a business and you have a bad day and you're working on your basement, you come home and you're just looking at your four walls and your dog or your wife or your kids, and you're like, man, I had a really bad day, and they just don't understand what's really going on. So, I really felt that by creating LaunchHouse, even when we first started, my co-founder and I, we were above a pizza shop, Tracy's Pizza in University Heights. When we'd have bad days, we can come back and look at each other. And then as we grew, entrepreneurs can come look at us, and we can kind of say, pick yourself back up, go get another customer, pitch another investor, tweak that invention you're working on, and reformulate your product. And so we always knew that by bringing people together in one central place and allowing them to work ideas off one another would have some sort of ripple effect. But then over time, just like a coworker at a business, at LaunchHouse, it's a lot. Everyone is really each other's coworker. But though people have different businesses, they really look at each other as family, as friends. One of the things we did really early on at LaunchHouse is we created something. It was kind of like our LaunchHouse Thanksgiving. And the idea behind that is with your family, you celebrate Thanksgiving, but why not do that at work with your work family? And so very early on, we made it known that we were going to be there for each other, whether it's for good or bad. And we were going to do the things that really make LaunchHouse one big family and brings everyone's families into LaunchHouse.
So I did my best to explain what I saw when I gave a talk there, and I did my best to explain what I saw there about the sharing of space, the sharing of resources, the energy and the electricity that I noticed there among the entrepreneurs. Give us more of the nuts and bolts here, right? What can someone who is thinking about, and remind me, they're members of LaunchHouse. They're not tenants. They're not residents. They're members, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So no one is a tenant of LaunchHouse. They're all members of LaunchHouse. And you can be members in different ways. So you could be a member that occupies an office. You could just have an open co-working spot where you come every day and you can work anywhere in our 17,000 square feet space in Highland Heights. We also have a location in Lakewood, and we have a partnership in Oberlin. And so you really are a member at LaunchHouse, and you could have an office, you could have a flex space, you could just have a mailbox, or you could just pop in once a month. We're very flexible about how you become part of the LaunchHouse family. And it's really creating a central place where entrepreneurs, freelancers, remote workers, executives from large companies that maybe aren't based here want a place to call home that's not their basement or their office at their home. So LaunchHouse is really kind of the catch-all for all of those people. But then imagine bringing all those people together and doing a lot of events, a lot of happy hours, a lot of knowledge sharing, ways to bring in speakers like yourself, Alex, where you share with us about how to best protect yourself as a business owner from an attorney who's been doing it for a long time. And so we learned really early on that the success of small businesses and large businesses that start small is really providing them with a lot of knowledge and things that they don't know, they just can't typically go out and get. And that's kind of a little bit of the secret sauce of LaunchHouse. It's creating that central place where all these things come together in one place.
And what if you are not a communal person and just want a space and to be left alone to do your business? Is that, or do you require, teamwork and working with the community? And
so I have a business partner. His name's Eric Hurwitz, and I'll call him out. He does not like being part of the community. So typically you will find him in his office with the door shut. Even when we have LaunchHouse Thanksgiving and other things, he typically does not come out unless I drag him out. So it's not really for everyone who wants to or has to be social. There's really a place for everyone at LaunchHouse. You can be in an office in a back corner of the facility where no one will ever see you, or you can work in the central co-working space where everyone will see you. It gives you the flexibility to pop out during lunch and interact with other people and have lunch with people, or it gives you the flexibility to eat in your office by yourself. It's really what you choose is what you get out of LaunchHouse.
And are people, like, let's say they're in the lunch space, are they bouncing ideas off of each other, or are they telling their idea and getting help and assistance? Or
so think of it this way. You have people across all industries working at LaunchHouse. You have people creating food companies, manufacturing, technology, executives for different types of businesses. So a lot of times you'll have someone who's working on a business but encounters a problem, and then they look around them and say, okay, who can help me? Who can provide me feedback on this or advice? How do I get over this hurdle? Or it's someone who's like, hey, I just made my big sale, or I just made my first $1 million sale. Who can I share that information with? And so it's a lot of knowledge sharing, and it's people that are freely talking about their ideas or their experiences. It's innate in people to really help one another, but you've got to create that central place for people to do it. And I mean, you think about a coffee shop, right? Everyone's sitting in a coffee shop kind of doing their own thing with their headphones on. People aren't knowledge sharing. People aren't helping one another. Sometimes people may talk to each other, but I think that's far and few between. Where LaunchHouse, it's a lot of ideas, a lot of people coming together, and people are eavesdropping all the time to say, hey, you have a problem in this area, I can help you. Go call this person, or I have faced this challenge. This is how you overcome it.
Are you doing a lot of babysitting? I know I'm the director of the chamber, so I know that there are chamber members who are totally in it for themselves. And it's exhausting sometimes watching them network, because they're not there to give or provide. They're here, what can you do for me? Is there anybody babysitting to make sure Joe Schmo isn't walking around just constantly bothering everybody to make sure, what they could do for him?
So we kind of set the ground rules from day one that we're not here to sell to each other. Ultimately, if you offer a service that someone needs, they're going to find you. You don't need to proactively sell your service to someone else. And really, that's kind of the base of LaunchHouse is we're really here to help one another. And yes, if you are that phenomenal marketing person, my guess is if there's an entrepreneur in the room and they need marketing services, they're going to get to know you at LaunchHouse and they're going to hire you. I would recommend anyone, whether it's in a chamber, a co-working space, or any sort of shared space at all, don't hound people to buy your services. If your services are good enough, someone's going to seek you out and they're going to want to utilize your services. And that's why, our community has really worked, because we have marketing people, videographers, accountants. We have, one attorney who works out of the space. So
you've set that mutual respect.
You kind of set that mutual respect from day one that you don't need to always be selling. If you are good at what you're doing and you're part of a community, people will remember that and people will give back. One of the things, though, we are seeing is that I believe there's a changing landscape in chambers across the country. I think it represents an opportunity for LaunchHouse to partner with chambers to allow them to kind of bring a LaunchHouse to their individual community. Because I think it's important for people in the chamber to understand what it's like to be part of a real community where you go to work every single day and people are not just selling, but people are really helping each other.
Right. And I let's get it out there. I didn't mean my particular Chagrin Valley chamber.
No,
of
but
course.
You two should definitely talk offline.
Definitely other chambers.
Yeah,
our members are amazing.
So Todd, one thing that so we talked about, the shared space and the shared resources. What about funding?
Good question.
Do your members ever work with LaunchHouse to find money, and does LaunchHouse help them?
So when LaunchHouse started, we were started as an organization that invested in idea stage companies. And for the first 6 years of our business, that was part of our focus. But then something hit me one day when I was kind of sitting in our Shaker location before we moved to Highland Heights, and I looked around the space and I saw the people that had been with LaunchHouse a long time that are part of the community. Most of those are people I never gave money to. And then the companies that we did give money to, they weren't as actively part of the community and as actively part of the space. And so very quickly I looked at myself and I said, I think funding is important for companies, and we still need to provide a way and an outlet to fund small promising businesses. But if people think of LaunchHouse as just a place to come to get money, those people, as soon as they get their money, they're going to pick up and leave.
Right.
And so we actually made a decision in 2014 that LaunchHouse as an organization was going to stop investing in companies, but any companies that were looking for funding, both potentially myself or other people in the LaunchHouse community, would provide access to capital for those entrepreneurs. And it's actually worked out better than I ever would have imagined. And companies have been even more successful because they don't tie the need for capital to LaunchHouse.
Yeah.
They really, entrepreneurs and people, small businesses or even growing businesses that are part of the community, they actually will come into the space and really become part of the community. And then once they need capital, they recognize that the access is there, but they also recognize that it's important to be part of the community first.
And what did you do before LaunchHouse?
Sure. So
what's your background?
I'm originally from Cleveland. I grew up in Lyndhurst, as I think we talked about when we first started, and I went to college in Providence, Rhode Island. And it was literally November of 2003. I came home over Thanksgiving break right before I graduated, and I had lunch with my grandfather. We had this long lunch, and he was talking to me, what are you going to do after you graduate? And I said, I've got this job interview in New York City in a couple of weeks. And he talked about Cleveland was like the greatest place. And I said, when? And he said, 1950. And then he kind of gave me the overall grandfather guilt trip of, none of my friends' grandchildren moved back here. If you don't move back, how's everyone going to ever make a change? So I went up to New York, had that job interview, packed my stuff up, moved back to Cleveland. No job, no money, not sure what I was going to do. Knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. So I got a job. I went to the bank, got my first loan to buy a house, and started rehabbing homes. Was working as a manager for a company that's now called Crestview Management. They're an outsourcing firm. And then within about a year, I went to work for a medical technology startup company called Franklin & Seidelman, which was actually founded out of on East Washington in the Pradco building.
Okay.
And really spent 2 years at that company, fell in love with the startup space, watched the company grow from about 10 employees to, I think, when I left, they were probably close to 80.
Wow.
And I just was like, there's something really awesome about being with a fast-growing company, and I believe that there's an opportunity to create more businesses like that here in Northeastern Ohio. So in the summer of 2008, we started really what's now LaunchHouse as this place where people can come together and start and grow their business. We provide access to capital, community, educational programming. But just like any organization, LaunchHouse has really evolved over the years as well. We started with this idea that we were going to provide capital, where really today our main focus is providing that community and space to bring anything from an entrepreneur who has an idea to we have companies that have 20 employees that call LaunchHouse home because they don't want to go out and sign a 5 or 10 year lease because they don't know what the future holds for their business. And so we have the flexibility to scale up and scale down with a business at any size while providing that community and access to capital and access to other entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Was your grandpa, is he still here, or was he here to be able to see what you accomplished?
I think he got to see early on, but he had dementia, and so by the time we started to have real success and a real impact, he was not here.
Yeah.
But I know that he's probably looking down on me every day.
He definitely is.
And he actually owned a restaurant for many years, and that was the place like in the 1950s and 60s where people went to go and do business.
And where was that?
It was called a Theatrical.
Okay.
And
Here.
It was downtown Cleveland.
Yeah,
it was on Short Vincent. It was 7-Eleven Short Vincent.
Yeah.
And so when I think about like kind of in his, for him, that was his place. He went there every day and was around all these amazing people, and that's where business happened. And when I look at LaunchHouse today, it's a place where people come together and start and grow their businesses, very similar to like what a restaurant was 50 years ago.
Todd,
I love it.
You formed it in 2008?
So yeah, we officially incorporated in 2008.
So 10 years. 11. This is your 11th year. Think back over those 11 years and think of when I say success story in LaunchHouse, what jumps out?
So I think of success in a lot of different ways. So there's one company that stands out. It's a company called Tunnel Vision Hoops. There's two founders, Todd and Carlton, and they showed up when we were at Brunswick Floors. That was 105th and Carnegie, and we were only a few years old. They had this idea to create hoop homes that extend the growing season from 6 months to year round for farmers. And it's not what you typically think about as a successful entrepreneur, right? Because all you hear about in the news are companies like Apple and Facebook and Google. But for us, it was really about...
Who are those?
I don't know. I've never heard of them. But for us, it was identifying entrepreneurs that can create real products and real businesses. Today, their revenue are in the low 7 figures. They are hiring constantly. They're having an impact with farmers all across the country. And to me, that's a success story. Another one I could talk on is a company called, he's not so much a company, but he's now probably 23 or 24. His name's Davion Gooden, and he started out at LaunchHouse when he was 14 years old.
Wow.
And so he is now a film producer. He makes video games. And so for me, watching him grow as a 14-year-old who would just run around LaunchHouse, and today I can download his game on the App Store. I can see the movies he's created. And it's not just about Davion or Carlton. There's companies like Nexus AI, who actually Phil Alexander grew up in Chagrin Falls. So Nexus is a company that utilizes artificial intelligence and works with large companies to optimize their workforce. And they've grown from just this idea. I can remember meeting with Phil. He was right out of graduate school, to now a company that's really thriving in the city of Chicago.
Wow.
And I can go on and on.
Can you ever say no? Like if there's do you have standards or something that you're like, you know what, we don't want that being created here, or you know?
So it's an interesting question. So when we were making investments, it was very easy to be strict because again, you're investing real money in businesses, and a lot of times like you've got to make sure you're picking the best companies that have the best chance for success. And especially when you're investing at the idea stage, you're lucky if you invest in 100 companies, if 3 to 5 will be successful. And so for us, it was being a lot more stringent on who we'd put our capital into and how we make our investments. But when we stopped making investments through LaunchHouse, and really kind of when we started LaunchHouse, the idea was really to be open to anyone. And what we have found is that we've never had to say no to someone, but very quickly, if people come into the community, they're not a good fit, they kind of see themselves out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Alex, you can start your porn, like your little porn movies that you want there.
At LaunchHouse?
Sure.
So actually,
I was looking for space.
Oh wait, there's a story here.
So
I've got a funny story about that too, actually.
So actually, one time when we were located in Shaker, as I said, we're now in Highland Heights. Someone actually did bring us in a DVD to pitch us on a porn making studio. As you can imagine, we did not invest, and I'm not sure whatever happened to that CD.
Can I tell you a
Your
funny
porn story
real
dear.
quick? So a few months ago, Tiffany and I were at the Greenville. We were in the back. The place was packed, and I went. I was going to go to the bathroom, and I said to Tiffany, "I go, don't get hit on while I'm gone, right? Don't let anyone hit on you." And Tiffany's my girlfriend, and I came back, and sure enough, there's like this dude hitting on her, right? And he couldn't have been more than like 23, right? Strapping young man, and I come back and just start making small talk with this dude, and make it clear that I'm that we're together. And it was a little awkward for him, but we made it. Everybody was really comfortable after a few seconds. And so during the small talk, we go, "What do you do?" And he goes, "I'm in real estate. I'm a realtor." Talked about that, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And without missing a beat, Tiffany and I go, "We're adult film stars, and we're in town for a shooting, right? We're doing a shoot, and we invited him to join us for a shoot."
Gosh.
This kid, I mean, I think he might have been like really Christian, right? Like he went beat red. Right.
That's awesome.
But Tiffany and I got to tell you, it was Oscar
stayed
worthy.
on task.
It was Oscar worthy. We were so on point. Anyway,
that's great.
Yeah.
I should have taken a selfie with him as you were telling him.
It was one of my proudest moments, actually. I mean, just like total game face.
Oh my goodness.
All right,
Alex,
back to LaunchHouse.
Silly.
Wait, I did,
Silly.
but I want to ask the opposite question of the success story, right? Have you ever had to kick anybody out?
I wouldn't say we've ever had to kick anyone out. But we've had people that have quickly showed themselves the door because they realized they're not a good fit at LaunchHouse. But I would say this, we're very welcoming. We're very tolerant. We understand that all entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. And we really are a community. And that's from, high school students like Davion, another high school student is like Ethan Holmes from Ethan Holmes Applesauce, who started out of LaunchHouse with his idea for his grandfather's applesauce recipe, who's now sold in multiple states. There's another company, it's called Tenant Magic, and they do tenant screening. They were actually originally...
I met those guys. Yeah, good guys.
They were originally based out of Chagrin Falls, and then we recruited them to now Highland Heights. So we find that there's more people that want to be part of the community and want to get out of their home than there are people that want to come and really be disruptive.
Any horrible idea? Like I'm sure there is.
Oh, we've seen the worst ideas.
Other than the porn DVD.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some really great ideas. We've seen some really ideas that just don't make sense. But what I would say, if you're an entrepreneur and you're out there, or you're just a person who's thinking about starting a business, know who your customer is, because at the end of the day, someone has to buy your product. And it's not going to be your mom. It's not going to be your dad. It's not going to be your friends. It's not going to be your other family members, or your brothers or sisters. You need to go out there. You need to create an idea that someone will buy, and create prototypes and get feedback, and the feedback you get on those prototypes, then make more prototypes. And the more you have a product that people will buy, the better chance you have for success.
I have one, and I need somebody from LaunchHouse to pick this up and run with it. I'm going to pitch it right now. I'm going to pitch it to you, Todd.
Yeah, but someone's going to steal it.
No, I'm okay with it. I really want somebody to run with this. Okay, here's the deal. You know how, you apply lotion to your face and to your body, right?
It's not your business, but okay.
All right. Well, I know we all use moisturizing lotion.
Come on, you
right?
dream about me putting lotion on all the time. Who are you kidding?
you know how there's that one part of your back that's really hard to apply lotion to? All right. Somebody, please build an extender. But the end of the extender, aside from so you squeeze the lotion up through the stick into the extender, but the extender looks and feels exactly
you
like.
Could use that
hold
for
on.
suntan lotion too.
Listen to me. That's true. But listen, the end of on one end of the
lotion my back. How many people lotion their back?
Can I finish my pitch?
That's
to
my
Todd?
point. I'm not sure there's a big enough market for this.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So it's basically a stick, like an extender.
Yeah, we
right?
got that
It's
part.
telescopic, so you can go from anywhere from 6 inches to 4 feet. One end is like the little trigger, right, that squeezes the lotion up through the stick. On the other end, the applicator, it looks and feels exactly like your own hand.
Well, there's so much.
Your mind's
There's
just
so
got
much right
blown.
there. No, actually, what it reminds me of is something else that does truly need to be developed, and that is a human hand to touch and pressure that you can put on a baby. Because I have baby twins.
Just use your hand.
And they're just born. They're 3 months old. And, when you're holding them, they're snug and they feel great. But when you put them down, and I know they have swaddles now, but when it's 90 degrees out and you have no air, swaddle isn't really all the best. We put our hand on the baby, just because there's twins. So, you know, you only have 2 hands. And it immediately...
Yeah.
And I think there is a blanket that has something, but my daughter and I are just let's just get a rubber glove and fill it with beans or something just to lay on the chest so that they feel that they're cuddled.
So exactly what is happening here between the two of you is exactly what happens at LaunchHouse every single day. Someone comes up with one idea. Someone else thinks about another idea. And then ultimately what happens, those 2 ideas come together and something else is created. So I would say about the swaddle idea, there is a weighted swaddle out there that they make that we bought for my son Grayson. I'll look up the name and I'll let you know.
Yes, I have.
But it's not the same feel as your hand.
Right.
So imagine if you could actually take your hand impression and get it molded. And then you could actually probably use some sort of warming device to make it feel like it's warm like your hand. So when the pressure is applied, it would feel like your actual hand is on the baby.
But can you squeeze
And
lotion
I was
out
going to
of
say,
it?
and then a stick could come out of it.
So I would say there's probably a bigger market opportunity for the baby market than the than the lotion market.
How dare you both?
But I will say this: when my wife, shortly after our kids were born, came up with a really good idea that I think every mother would use who's breastfeeding. But again, it's everyone has ideas, but it's how do you guys get those ideas to market?
Sure.
But I think that's the prime time to innovate, right? When you are right in the thick of something, trying to figure out something that could help your life be made easier. Because think about some of the best inventions. They're really things that make your life easier. Plain and simple.
Right.
I mean, it's, for all the talk of technology and, yes, there's a lot of companies that work out of LaunchHouse that I've invested in that are technology based. It's really, food products, products that are manufactured. It's really kind of everyday things that sometimes have the biggest market opportunity. It doesn't just have to be technology.
Right.
Though that's what's mostly talked about because you hear about those companies going public. It's really my belief and the belief of LaunchHouse that it's really small businesses that drive that really drive a local economy. And small businesses are the way of the world. And so if you could have a lot of businesses that are creating new products, hiring employees, giving back to their community and making an impact, that's what success looks like.
Well, you're totally right, because there are, I think, a minority of businesses, a very small number of businesses that are giant now and that started out giant.
Yep.
The vast majority of them started out with one man, one woman having an idea and then just chipping away at it and refining it and then building it and then probably selling it out of their garage or out of a launch house or something like that, and then growing it into the Apples and the Amazons and the medical mutuals and the First Energies of the world, right? The vast majority of American of the American economy started out as a small business.
So here, I'll challenge you. So I'll name some companies. You tell me if you think they were started here.
Ooh, I love this.
So
Go. Can't wait.
Started like here in Cleveland?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
So-
I'm going to be good at this, I bet.
Standard Oil.
Yes.
Okay. Progressive Insurance.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Lincoln Electric.
Yes. In Wycliffe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eating Corporation.
No. I'm going to say no on E.
I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So Sherwin-Williams.
Yes, definitely.
So were any of those companies started in the last 10 years?
No.
So what I always say to people is starting a business is not a 10-year and you
Right.
sell, right? There are only very few Facebooks of the world.
Yeah.
It is a 20, 50, 100-year process. And if you look at most of the companies I mentioned, they were all started by one guy or one woman or a team of people that did it out of their garage or a garage or some really small place and that had a lot of success over time.
So, Todd, you've had the unique position of seeing a lot of businesses grow, fail, succeed, right? What have you seen in terms of commonalities in the entrepreneurs that you've witnessed come through your through LaunchHouse? The ones that have succeeded, what do they have in common?
So you really are not betting on the idea. You're really betting on the founder. I have seen some of the best ideas in the world. Ideas I thought for sure were going to be home runs, absolutely fail because the team behind it couldn't execute. And I've seen some of the ideas where they're still good ideas, but I wasn't sure if the idea would make it, but had the right team be wildly successful. So when you're really looking at making an investment or starting a business, it's really about the team.
What about the team do you think stands out to differentiate those that will succeed from those that won't?
So I would say this, it really depends on the industry. So if you're starting a software company, you, God darn it, need to have a CTO, a technologist on your team from day one. You cannot rely on outsourcing your technology to anyone else but your internal team that can develop it. If you're, manufacturing a product, you should have someone who understands how to do manufacturing. If you're creating a service, have someone has some expertise in that service that they're trying to build a business around. It's really difficult to enter a category and be successful if you or no one on your team has absolutely any experience in that field. And so It's really important to build a really good team, but also having an honest conversation with, if it's just you, then it could be with yourself. But if you have co-founders, on what your future plans are if you're going to start a business. Because if you're starting a business and then you're going to get married and have kids and buy a new house, well, you may want to think twice because there's a lot of risk that goes along with starting a business. And if you and your co-founders are not on the same page, nothing can destroy a business quicker. But also understand what your end goals are. So part of also building a business is deciding whether or not to take an investor capital. And I think it's very important as founders to get on the same page of whether or not you want to bring in investors. And then also if you do bring in investors, being on the same page with them as well. Because an investor is only investing in you because they want a return on their investment. And typically they want that in 5 to 10 years. So if you're building a business that is going to take a long time, which almost every business does, you need to make sure that your investors and your co-founders and everyone involved is on the same page. Because sometimes that pressure I've seen can overwhelm an entrepreneur, and that can lead to failure as well.
Go ahead, Molly.
If you were on Shark Tank, which person would you be?
So it's interesting. I'm not sure I've watched Shark Tank enough. And I always say that because when we first started LaunchHouse and we were above the pizza shop, we used to do an event called Whiteboard Wednesday. And it was really Shark Tank before Shark Tank. We'd get beer and pizza. Entrepreneurs could just pitch their idea and people in the audience would give real feedback. And so I typically want to be the person that's going to give just kind of the straight advice with an entrepreneur. There's no sense in being around a bush. You just got to give it to them straight.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of times when you don't give it straight with an entrepreneur, they can waste a lot of time and a lot of money. And very early on at LaunchHouse, this is how we really recognized that we had really stumbled upon a real opportunity to create something. We'd have entrepreneurs come into our doors and they would say, I've raised $50,000 for my friends and family. I have $1,000 left. I've spent it all on attorney. No offense. I've spent all on attorneys. I've spent all on accountants. I don't have a prototype. And I'd be like, give the last $1,000 back to your friends and family and call it quits.
Right.
And I think that, and I'm not trying to pick on attorneys or accountants, but it's just a lot of time entrepreneurs don't realize that the number one thing they need to focus on is their product and who their customer is. And so when you think about Shark Tank, really it's an act, right? It's really for entertainment. It's like almost any TV show. There's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes to get to that point. That I don't think you could really, I'm not sure, and I've seen it a couple of times, who I'd really connect with, because I'm not on TV. I don't know who I'd really portray in that situation.
Do you get a piece of whatever is developed, like the co-founders? Like, are you co-founders of these certain brands or things that are started in LaunchHouse?
So we do not take equity just to take equity. So people can come to LaunchHouse. They can grow their business out of LaunchHouse. We don't take any equity at all. If a company is looking for investment, both myself and other people within the community do make investments for equity. In addition to being the founder of LaunchHouse, I've also started several other companies. So I own a company called Pure Foods right now. We manufacture a dairy-free spread that's sold in Giant Eagle, Heinen's, Whole Foods. It's called the Dairy Free Company. And then I've also am upcoming launching a brand new product. It's a line of cookie dough bars that are plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free, and it's just kind of a way both myself and my two boys are gluten-free. So trying to create something that, tastes good and is also somewhat healthy. And so when you think about LaunchHouse, there's a lot of people coming together and a lot of people starting businesses, and it wouldn't be fair for us to take equity in those businesses just because they're based out of LaunchHouse.
Right.
But when the opportunity arises, and there are good opportunities, myself and others will make investments in those businesses. But also being at LaunchHouse gets my entrepreneurial juices going, and so that's led me to start several businesses as well with partners.
The best, I'll tell you, I love that story, Todd, because the best companies, and we just represent businesses here predominantly, I should say. Almost all our clients are businesses. The best ones that make the best products or deliver the best services are the ones that have an origin story like yours, where they've got their own need. They go to Whole Foods and they're looking in the gluten-free section and they're not finding the stuff they like. So they're like, well, I'm going to make something better.
To solve a problem.
Yeah. That's where Cover My Six came from, we're auditing companies in a way that no other law firm, no other business was doing. And we just kind of, the light bulb goes off saying, wait, nobody's doing this. Why aren't I marketing this more? Why aren't I productizing this? And I will say too, the dairy-free options, right, which I look for because I'm lactose highly sensitive.
I should have brought you some spread.
Yeah.
I'll get you some.
Those, it's just Daya, right?
Yeah, Daya, there's Treeline, there's Mayokos, but the Mayokos and Treeline are very much vegan diehard brands, and really with the dairy-free company, we're meant to be kind of, you can be dairy-free with anything. You can be dairy-free with a steak. So you can put our spreads on a steak. You can put our spreads on a bagel. You could use our dips for chips. Like, it's really meant to be dairy-free for all.
I will be a consumer and a customer of yours.
Well, Giant Eagle, Whole Foods.
And Heinen's.
You ought to talk to my girlfriend Tiffany, because she is looking. She has taught me to look at the ingredients of everything I buy, and whenever I go into the dairy free stuff, she thinks that every dairy free option out there is just filled with garbage.
Yeah, so maybe we should avoid the companies I listed, except for the dairy free company.
Right.
But it's true. A lot of the companies that make alternatives out there are filled with a lot of fillers.
Yeah, right.
And that's the stuff that's really bad for you. Like, Dye is really a science experiment. A science experiment.
Yeah, that's right.
So we should be in store in July.
Okay.
And I think my goal is, I'm hoping to be able to do a large launch party here in Sugar Falls for the product.
Okay. I want in on that invitation.
You guys will both be invited.
And then what, is there a kitchen at LaunchHouse do you partner with a
So we do not have our own kitchen for companies to produce, but for the dairy-free company, we have a manufacturing facility on 185th and St. Clair.
Okay.
For the cookie dough bar, we have a separate facility as well.
Okay.
We're sitting here at the so right now I think this is like episode 90 maybe.
Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do for our 100?
I know, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Todd, we're sitting here and you're coming back for episode 200, so it's maybe call it 2 years. What's in LaunchHouse's future? What are we talking about 2 years from now?
So the focus of LaunchHouse today is really to build a replicatable model. So we have over 100 members. We're at 100% occupancy. And when I say that is all of our offices are filled, so we're actually building more offices. We have several locations. And so for us, really the next 18 months is really going to be about honing in on our model, increasing our profitability, and then looking to potentially franchise or open more locations with partners in communities that need a launch house or want a launch house. And who knows? Maybe that could be Chagrin Falls.
Well, I was going to say you should partner or look into the Chagrin Falls Park community because they have a space that the senior center of Geauga County maybe just moved somewhere else. So they have this space, which also has a kitchen. And what a great opportunity to be in a community like that where students need guidance to businesses and need to be able to think that it's okay to have ideas and talk about ideas. It's a underprivileged community, and I think that would be kind of a cool piece of LaunchHouse to be touching kids that probably wouldn't have an opportunity any other way, but to have it be in your backyard.
Well, you guys should come to Chagrin Valley Chamber area regardless.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So would you move your law firm into a launch house?
Well, you have a lot of space.
I mean,
would you have somebody that
like there's 14 people.
Oh, we can accommodate.
Yeah?
No problem.
Oh,
Interesting.
why don't we just make this a launch house?
Interesting. Look, I'm always competing for rent. Right?
Yeah,
So
right.
We'll talk, Todd.
Yeah.
All right. This is an outstanding opportunity to take a short break. Folks, don't go anywhere. Hey folks, Alex Gertzberg here. I am CEO of the Gertzberg Law Firm and Cover My Six. And I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about something special we're doing at Cover My Six. If you own or run a business, I want you to go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify for a no-cost business vulnerability assessment. My business lawyers will meet with you in person, go over your customer contract, your employee handbook, and your other key legal documents, and help you spot any legal minefields that they see. We'll also give you some guidance on how to stop those minefields from blowing up your business. So go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify and to sign up. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show. And we are back, Molly Gebler.
We are.
So, Todd, we do this this wacky little thing over here called the lightning round. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay. Molly.
Oh, yes.
Oh no.
I built so much suspense there. I hyped it all up and
After
Molly.
90 episodes, you'd think,
You would
folks,
think-
that you guys know the questions by
I know
now.
your questions. I've asked your questions.
Here's
right.
what it is.
Lightning
I just
round
don't
question number
remember.
1.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. What are you binging? Uh-oh. He doesn't remember the name of it,
What's the name
though,
of the show?
because his wife's making
What's it
him.
about?
It's Oliver Stone. It's
Untold History of the United States.
Yes,
Oh, my.
It's so good.
Untold History of the United States.
Yeah.
So good.
What is that? Just about things that we don't know about?
It's amazing. You just got to watch it.
Okay.
It's really good.
I'm rewatching The Sopranos.
Yeah, you mentioned
Did I say that
Yeah.
already? I just
How
love
far
it.
into it are you?
I'm only in season 3.
Okay.
Love it. Love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
that's a really
Untold
good one.
History of America.
Of the United States.
Of the United States. Have you Also seen The Men Who Built America.
I think I just saw the Brooklyn
I wasn't a big
Bridge
fan of that
Would
one.
that be one of
Yeah.
them? Yeah, I did see.
So I'm a huge fan of documentaries and like Ken Burns stuff and American Experience.
And mine.
I didn't and Molly's. And I wasn't a big fan of that because it had actors in it. You know, I like my history
Bug you.
unfiltered. You know what I
I
mean?
bug you a little bit there, Chief.
The Untold History of America.
So
is
good.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah.
I'm on it. Okay, your perfect day.
Spending it with my wife and children.
Oh.
So typically going to Lake Farm Park, just something with them.
And you know that the summer concert series beginning, which the Gertzberg Law Firm is
It's Thursday. Don't make any plans.
this Thursday, starting every Thursday in Chagrin Falls in the Triangle, 7 to 9.
We'll be there.
And then every Tuesday in other communities, just check the chamber. And then every Sunday at Pinecrest from 3 to 5.
So could we work something out where once we have product for Wodo that we'll give free bars away at all
Yes.
those?
Yes.
So if you give me a list, we'll bring free product for everyone.
Yeah.
Todd, this is music to my
I'm
ears.
telling you.
It's fantastic.
Yes, we love
it's very
that.
well attended, by the way.
Yeah.
These are really
yeah, you get
good.
ready. We're like
Yeah.
400 people in. Okay. So,
I actually just tasked my interns today with giving away between 200 and 500 bars a day.
This will be easy.
Well, voila, they could check it right off. If you weren't an entrepreneurial, which I can never say, what would you be?
A teacher.
Oh,
Good one.
and I think you kind of are in just a different way. And then I think that's my questions.
Well,
I
you
think
used
I'm
to
good.
have one. You used to look at the guest like this and go, Todd, what's on your mind?
Oh yeah, what happened to that one?
I think you're looking at an outdated list or a
Just as January
I don't know.
2019. Todd, what's on your mind?
So on my way over today, my wife sent me a text message telling me that my son, who's 4 Henry, told her how he was
boy.
having a good day and he was so happy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so honestly, that's what's on my mind right now.
I love that. And I had the same experience with my 21 or 22-year-old. She just had we were in the car. She just got a job in New York City. So we were on the car taking her to New York City. And she said, Mom, I just realized that my life is pretty good right now, that I have a really good life. I thought, at 22 to realize that, that's good. Because
That's awesome.
It's going to change. All right. Alex, what do you have?
Okay. Todd, you are shipwrecked on a desert island for a minimum of 3 months. Could be the rest of your life. You don't know, but it's at least 3 months. You may bring with you any single musician's entire discography. Who's the musician or band?
So it's the Beatles.
Interesting. Good
I
choice.
don't know if we've had that.
No, that's a first, actually. They have quite a discography.
Sure do.
And so that's credit to my wife and now my boys, because my wife loves the Beatles. And so I've grown to love the Beatles. And now my son Henry, who's 4, and my son Grayson, who's 2, but mostly my son Henry, who's 4, can sing like a bunch of Beatles songs.
You remember a few years ago when they came out with the Beatles anthology?
Yes.
That-
One. Wasn't it called One?
No, it was like 6 discs, I think,
Oh.
wasn't it? And but what was great about that one was that they had all these outtakes from all of the best. First, they had all these alternative versions to every one of your favorite songs, but then they had outtakes from those alternative versions. Fascinating.
Question.
Yeah.
If he chooses the Beatles,
Yeah.
would you allow him to then branch off to
like
them
Wings?
separately? Right, Wings, and then John Lennon separately, Paul McCartney
It's a
separately.
great question, Molly. I'm going to have to say no on that.
Oh, so that means I can't bring Imagine?
Oh, good one.
I think that might be allowed in as an exception.
Done. Sold.
All right.
Take me to the island.
Same shipwreck, same desert island, same unknown period of time. You may bring with you any single author's entire bibliography. Who do you bring?
I guess here's an issue. I don't read. I listen to books on tape.
It's okay.
He's my
Permitted.
spirit,
Wow, you
man.
guys-
I'm not certain my phone, if I'm on a desert island, I'd be able to listen to anything. It'd die.
I think for purposes of this question, we would let you bring any single author's entire audio bibliography.
On a battery, a lifelong
on a
battery.
solar panel, electric generated
Yes.
iPhone.
Could I just give you my
Favorite?
How about I give you the most recent book I read?
However you want to answer this question,
I
Todd.
recently read the book Shoutout, which is the story of Phil Knight, the Nike founder.
Really?
And
Shoe
It's
Dog?
called Shoutout.
Okay.
And it was by far the most inspirational book I've read.
I'm writing this down.
Write that down,
And
folks.
Just
Shoe Dog.
a lot of what I'm in a totally different sector than Phil, but just a lot of things that he went through early on in creating Nike, I could resonate with in creating LaunchHouse. And I recommend for any entrepreneur out there, or anyone who's running a small business who has big aspirations, that's a book you should read.
Does he credit Michael Jordan for kind of his catapult? Wouldn't you say that was when Nike became humongous?
So the athletes had a lot to do with it, but he had a lot of success and a lot of momentum before there was ever Michael Jordan. And I think that as you read the book, he said every trial and tribulation you could imagine as an entrepreneur. And so it really kind of hit.
I'm totally reading it.
Folks, write that down.
Todd, what is the habit or routine that you do on a regular basis from which you have gotten the most mileage?
So I'm not sure that I have any one single routine that I do every single day to like think about my day.
Or it could be just a habit. I mean, habit, routine, practice, anything. Something that you just do on a regular basis.
So probably, I'm trying to think if there is anything.
You're allowed to say there isn't. Don't get all hooked up with his hoopla and his rituals and everything.
I'm not sure I have a single routine that I do every single day. I know that when I get up in the morning, my kids are already awake. I know that my emails are going off. My text messages are coming in.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, typically from then until the time I go to bed, I'm answering questions.
Yeah. It's 100 miles an hour.
It's 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. I think probably if there's a routine I should create, it would be when I get home at night, shutting my phone off.
Mm-hmm. Could you?
I need to.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't. I think
that
we're kindred spirits. I think
I would agree.
Yeah, we have the same. I'm the same.
Well, it's
same
interesting
way.
because there's so many business books and personal development books out there, and depending on who you want to listen to, choose to listen to, you will hear, like Tim Ferriss's podcast. It's just all these performers and billionaires and CEOs, and one of them will say, my phone is only turned on between 9 and 5, and outside of those times, I don't even look at it. And then another guy will say, the first thing I do is I check my emails and I start responding, and then I give myself like a 1 hour break in there or something. So everyone's got their own.
I mean, I think right
process.
Now when I left because I was in a hurry and I was running late, I probably have 12 emails, and that's probably being generous, started that like I've been trying to get out for the whole day, or and that's just the ones that I care to respond to.
Yeah, I don't think I have a specific routine.
All right.
That's okay.
Typically, I will say the one thing that I do almost every single day is I call my best friend from college.
Well, there you go.
As I was sitting there thinking about it, that's probably the one routine I have is I call my best friend from college on my way to work every day just to kind of catch up.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so you guys are just catching up and talking about your day or what's on the agenda or
whatever's going on in life at that time.
Yeah. And where is he or she?
He is now in Denver, Colorado.
I love that.
That's a great routine.
So it's I'm a believer that you don't need to have a lot of friends. You just need to
Amen.
have a few very close friends.
We are tight, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Good.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
We have a question. It's called The Christie. It's named after Christy George, who is the publisher of Neighbors magazine.
Which Alex was on the cover 2 months ago.
The current issue. I'm on
What
the cover.
is Neighbors magazine?
Oh.
It is it's a magazine that is specific to.
You would have gotten it. Oh, I think there's parts of Chagrin. It's
Chagrin
in your
Falls,
mail
Bainbridge,
free.
and Auburn, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes in your mail once a month.
I have to check it out.
Yeah. Alex was on
You
that.
would have noticed if I was on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You'd
know,
be like,
that's-
I would
"Hey,
hope
know
so.
that dude."
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Her question is, if you could interview anyone who ever lived, or who may be still living, who would it be?
So I think, so there's probably two.
Okay.
You know what? We're gonna give it to him. We've allowed a lot during this.
We've let a lot of stuff
Yes.
slide here.
So I think one would be John D. Rockefeller.
Ooh, good one.
Has someone said that one?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a good one.
And I think the second one would be John F. Kennedy.
Excellent.
Have you ever listened to, and they're on DVD or on CDs, so you can listen to it. It's Jackie's interview that was released. It had been in a vault for a certain amount of 40 years, or how long has he been gone?
Oh yeah. They
They put her interview in a vault, and it was not allowed to be released until a certain number. It is, and all you do is hear her smoking and drinking the entire time.
So is that
But
what they made the
it's-
movie about?
Maybe
Because she's being interviewed in that movie.
Maybe. It's fascinating. It's
Interesting.
fascinating. It's really good.
The final and probably the most compelling lightning round question. I mean, if you had difficulty with the prior ones, Todd, this one is going to blow your mind.
Bring it.
This is really important.
Let's do it.
What is an embarrassing thing about yourself that very few people know? And for extra credit,
Oh boy.
that nobody knows.
I was born with spina bifida.
Is that right?
Oh.
Wow.
So that's, yeah.
I mean, that's not really embarrassing. That's
No.
a unique,
So that's a unique-
unusual
So
thing.
how do you not have that anymore, or do you always have it?
I was born with spina bifida. I was born at 7 months. And so I've had many surgeries throughout my life. Obviously, most people with spina bifida are not as fortunate as I am. But that's kind of something that nobody knows.
Yeah.
Not an embarrassing thing. So I guess I probably can come up with an embarrassment.
Do you think that is used as a driving force for you to not sit around and do nothing with your life?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it is that I feel that I was given a chance when most people with spina bifida aren't. And so I need to make a difference and put my mark on the world.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So sorry, not embarrassing, but that's a...
I mean, we'll accept that,
yeah,
Todd. Would you
for
like to
sure.
share an embarrassing thing on top of that? Because we'll take it.
Oh, please.
We'll take it if you'd like to.
I'm sure he's
We'll
dying to.
We'll let you make that call, Todd, since you...
I'll skip it.
All right.
Next time.
Fair enough. This has been awesome. I
So
officially declare this
great.
this episode a success, Molly.
I agree.
Yeah, this was
I
good.
Agree.
So
Yes.
can I give a shout out to...
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh! Yeah,
this is that time.
This
So-
is it. Go for it.
A shout out to my wife.
Yes.
Who
What's
puts
her
up-
name?
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Who is amazing, who takes care of our kids and takes care of our home and is the ever supporter of LaunchHouse and everything else I'm doing and we're doing as a family. And so, as many entrepreneurs know, without a strong supporting spouse, you cannot be successful.
Who's having a ice cream bar as we speak?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lots of ice cream
Just
with
so
the
you know.
kids
Yeah.
as we speak.
Dairy free, obviously.
No, gluten
No,
free.
gluten free. Gluten free.
I think
Okay. Ugh.
they're probably eating Jenny's.
Oh.
They just came out with this awesome flavor. God, no, I can't remember. what it
Oh.
is.
Are they a chamber member, Molly?
They are not.
Come on,
They're
Jenny's. Not
Cookies
cool.
and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Gluten-free.
Okay.
So
Huh.
I would also say that if you are out there and you have a small business or you want to start a business or you are home over the summer and your kids are home and you want to get out of your house, come to LaunchHouse for a week for free. Try it out.
And where can they find you? Give them all the information
Just
they need.
LaunchHouse.com. We're on Facebook, just LaunchHouse. Instagram, just LaunchHouse. All the social medias is LaunchHouse. We have a newsletter. We have a large event, which I've told you about in January. That's a big party to celebrate entrepreneurship in Cleveland. We typically do it at Red Space. We have about 300 or 400 people.
John Gadd.
Yep. Good friend of mine.
Love him.
Former podcast guest.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've known John a while, and we host our event at his space.
Okay.
But thank you guys.
Yeah, so
thank
go
you.
find LaunchHouse. Do you have a room that just has a bed, like for when I just need to take a nap or just
I promise you there are couches.
reduce my brain?
There are couches. There's places. People there. I promise you, if you show up at LaunchHouse at 2:00 in the morning, someone will be there. If you show up.
Oh, so do you have a key that people could I would have my own key if I were a member.
So we have an access code, so people
Gotcha.
can come use the space 24/7, 7 days
That's
a
a
week.
good. That's something we should.
I would suggest people get involved in the entrepreneurial community, find ways to give back, find ways to mentor. You're never too young. You're never too old to be an entrepreneur. And really, small businesses are the foundation of our society.
They're not going
and
anywhere,
our
folks.
economy. So the more we can do to help them grow, the more successful we'll be.
And I do agree with you, and I want to emphasize on the community part. You know, there are, to get involved in your community, Alex, you're a sponsor for the concerts. You are visible in the community. That's a huge thing that I think some businesses kind of forget about. They get so wrapped up in their day-to-day. You need to get out and support your community because it will help your business grow immensely, because people in the community like to support businesses that support their community. It has been going on since Grandpa in 1950. I mean, it is the way it is. And I think statistics will show that when somebody's choosing between two companies, if they know that this one supports the community they live in, they're going with that one. So
I agree.
Amen,
sister.
sister.
Thank you.
All right, so we talked about the concerts. So go there.
Yes.
Thursdays, Tuesdays, Sundays.
Yes.
There's never.
Go buy my book, please.
Buy Molly's book.
Yes.
What's the book?
It's called Blossom. It's a children's book.
A piece of
about
Molly's mind.com.
a little hot air balloon that got lost and landed in Chagrin Falls.
That's awesome.
A piece of Molly's mind.com. Purchase your own before they're gone.
Awesome. And folks, if you are a business owner, you know, a lot of LaunchHouse folks could benefit from this. If you go to covermy6.com, there we just put up a 10-question business vulnerability quiz. You want to know how savvy you are about your business and what is just waiting to get you sued, go to covermy6.com and do that quiz, and you'll be I think amazed at what you'll find, and hopefully thankful at what we point out for you that you may be doing wrong. There's really good information over there. So take the quiz, and
I think you and I need to schedule a field trip
to LaunchHouse. I'm in.
You guys should come down anytime you want.
All right.
And then lastly, folks, if you're still listening this far,
And
then
if you're not, wake up.
yeah, if you're still listening, then you're either married to one of us, or you are a fan,
Or Alex's mom.
right? But most likely it's because you've enjoyed what you've heard, which means that you ought to go to thebest.podcast.ever.com and click on the subscribe button there, and you'll instantly become way cooler than when you didn't. And you'll get notices of the new podcast episodes coming out and all the other fun things that we do. So do that. And whatever you're listening to us on, if you have the ability to review or rate us, do me a favor. Just do it. Just do it. Molly ain't doing this for free.
As Nike said, just do it.
Do it. Just do it. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next time.
Have a great one.